I never thought it was possible to travel through time, to leap 10 years into the future. And yet, here I was, 30 years old, humiliated in the dead of night, clinging to my husband like a desperate fool, begging him for intimacy. "Curtis, please, just give me a child." He pushed me away, his voice sharp and distant. "Not tonight, Jenna. Ava is only 20. She's sick, and I promised her brother I'd take care of her." 30-year-old me might have swallowed the pain, accepted it quietly. But 20-year-old me? No chance. I threw the divorce papers onto the bed.
"Fine.
"If you want them young, go ahead.
But you don't deserve me."
Let's get a divorce." The moment he rejected me, something inside me snapped. My soul seemed to tear from my 30-year-old body, only to be violently shoved back into it. I was 20 again, trapped in a body that had already felt a decade of disappointment. There were faint lines near my eyes, but the gaze that stared back in the mirror burned bright with the fire of youth. Curtis moved toward the door. My voice, icy and unflinching, stopped him. "Wait." He froze, irritation radiating off him. "Jenna, are you serious? Ava's brother died for me. She's just a kid with a 102-degree fever. You want me to stay?"
He scoffed.
"There's a limit to your jealousy." "I'm not stopping you," I said evenly, my voice flat. "But we're getting a divorce." The words left my lips before reason could intervene. Somehow, some inexplicable force had transported me back. The 20-year-old me would never tolerate a husband with such blurred boundaries. I wouldn't bow, I wouldn't swallow my pride. I had nothing to lose, and courage enough to start fresh. Curtis, in the middle of adjusting his shirt, froze. Disbelief flickered across his face, quickly replaced by amusement. "Jenna, have you lost your mind?" I frowned. "Why do you assume this is a tantrum? He saved your life, yes. If you feel indebted, repay him yourself, but don't drag me into it." A sneer curled his lips. "So, because I won't sleep with you tonight, you're divorcing me? Ungrateful, aren't you?" "Ungrateful." I straightened, my voice steady and sharp. "I'm not content. You can't even meet the basic needs of a partner. Why shouldn't I want a divorce?" Even explaining this felt monumental. 30-year-old Curtis demanded far too much. A divorce? He still looked incredulous. "Jenna, can you be reasonable for once? Threats now." As if to punctuate his words, his phone rang. He answered, instantly softening into a gentle tone meant only for someone else. "Ava, I'm coming." "You're not going anywhere." I stepped in front of him, blocking the door. "We haven't finished this conversation." The 30-year-old me had loved this man, blindly. But 20-year-old me barely recognized him. His glare was sharp, a silent warning. "Don't push me, Jenna. If anything happens to Ava because of this, it's over between us." I held his gaze without flinching. "Don't worry.
She'll be fine."
But I'm not being delayed, either. If you have no objections, my lawyer will be in touch tomorrow." "Do whatever you want," he spat, slamming the door. He believed I was grounded, that my wings had been clipped too far to soar. He was wrong. Alone, I staggered to the bathroom, still grappling with the impossibility of what had happened. The woman in the mirror was both me and a stranger. The corners of her eyes betrayed time. Her skin no longer radiated youth. A 30-year-old woman. No career, no identity, no power. Pathetically hoping a child could cement her place, hold on to a man whose heart had long strayed. It was laughable, tragic, absurd. A decade of memories surged through me, a tidal wave of bitterness and regret. At 20, I had just won the National Collegiate Photography Award, the golden trophy gleaming in my hands. An acceptance letter from the Paris College of Art sat on my desk, promising a bright future. I was radiant, confident, unstoppable. Curtis was just one of many faces in the crowd, a fleeting admirer among countless others. 2 years later, after graduation, a runaway truck hurtled toward me. Curtis had shoved me out of the way, without a second thought for his own safety. Back then, his love had felt boundless, selfless. At 22, I believed I had found salvation in him. I let go of my past grievances, clipped my own wings, and abandoned the dream of studying abroad. By 24, I was Mrs. Thorne. In the early years of our marriage, Curtis treated me like a precious gem, convincing me with countless small gestures to give up my career. But love, I soon realized, can sour. Just as 30-year-old Jenna had betrayed the 20-year-old me. When had it started to decay? Perhaps after my third miscarriage, when he brought home a young woman named Ava, claiming she was the sister of the man who had supposedly saved his life, a man who hadn't saved him at all, just one of his friends. That flimsy excuse had paved the way for flirtations, ambiguities, and the expectation that I, Jenna of 30, should silently accept it. What a joke, I muttered, scrolling endlessly through my phone. My bank account was meager, a paltry allowance from Curtis. Messages from my parents were little more than pleas for money. Even worse were the notes in my memo app, trivial reminders of a life built to serve someone else. Remember, Curtis hates cilantro. Pick up suit from dry cleaner. Mother-in-law's birthday, prepare gift. I slammed my hand against the mirror. The cracks spiderwebbed across the glass, scattering the reflection of 30-year-old me into fragments. In every shard, the 20-year-old me glared back, furious. How did you let this happen? Tears finally spilled. At 20, I had vowed to become one of the world's greatest architects and photographers. Now, my camera gathered dust, my ambitions rotted in a dark corner, and my self-respect was trampled under Curtis's feet. 30-year-old me had become everything I had once despised. I mourned her, but I hated her even more for betraying all my dreams, my potential, my future. This was not the life I was meant to live. Once I regained some composure, I began to organize. One stack of papers for the divorce lawyer, another for reclaiming my dreams. My phone buzzed. A message from Ava appeared. Mrs. Thorne, seems your husband loves me more. I win. 20-year-old me didn't care for titles like Mrs. Thorne. I was all thorns, all edges. Such a provocation would not go unanswered. I took a screenshot and sent it straight to Curtis's workgroup chat. I didn't care about etiquette, consequences, or appearances. I acted purely on instinct. As expected, the chat erupted. Notifications rang without pause. Messages flooded in. What's happening? Has Ms. Vance lost her mind? Maybe we shouldn't interfere in Mr. Thorne's private affairs. Everyone was hesitant, shocked, fearful of Curtis. A few dared a facepalm emoji, only to quickly delete it. Then my phone vibrated violently. Curtis Thorne's name lit up the screen. I held down the power button, shutting it off. Silence descended. 10 years ago, Curtis would have bent over backward to please me. Now, he had means to get what he wanted. It didn't take long for my mother to arrive at the door. Jenna, did you and Curtis have a fight? I said nothing. The 30-year-old version of me might have softened toward this woman, but the 20-year-old me had not. My mother's brows drew together. No matter what happened, you should be the one to apologize first. Don't make things worse. I met her eyes, my tone cutting. What's wrong? Afraid he'll stop sending you money? Her face drained of color. Her fingers fidgeted with her handbag strap. How can you speak to your mother like that? I'm just trying to help you. Help me. I let out a bitter laugh. Like you helped me when you and Dad divorced and dumped me at my uncle's house. The memories hit like a storm, cold, suffocating. When my parents split, my mother took my older sister out of love. My father claimed my younger brother, his precious heir. And me? I was 5, unwanted, inconvenient. I had clung to their sleeves, sobbing, but they brushed me off like I was nothing. We can only take one each, they'd said. Don't worry, we'll come for you soon. I waited. From 5 years old until adulthood. They never came. My sister used to sneer. Jenna, your name fits you. Wild and unwanted. My brother would laugh. You're just a weed. No one needs you. At my uncle's house, life was hell. My aunt's face was always twisted in disgust. Freeloader. Your own parents threw you away. Why don't you do us all a favor and disappear? My cousin destroyed my schoolwork for fun, while I scrubbed clothes in freezing water, my hands cracked and bleeding. I used to envy my siblings, living comfortably, eating well, having parents who actually wanted them. Meanwhile, I starved both body and soul. Now my mother's voice trembled. Things were hard back then, Jenna. I couldn't raise 2 children on my own. Hard. I shot to my feet. Then, how did you find the money to send my sister abroad? Who bought my brother his car? When I was so broke I couldn't even afford pads. Where were you? Her eyes filled with tears. Your sister's struggling now. Her husband's business failed. I cut her off coldly. And what does that have to do with me? Her marriage fell apart, so I'm supposed to give up my dignity to patch things for all of you. I grabbed her purse and flung it at the door. It burst open, scattering its contents. Receipts fluttered to the ground, designer handbags, expensive stores. One dated yesterday. So that was it. They didn't come to check on me. They came to leech off my husband's wealth. My mother scrambled to gather the papers. No, Jenna, it's not what it looks like. I'll make it up to you, I promise. Take your things and go. My voice didn't tremble. The 5-year-old me, the one who had dug through trash just to survive, had needed a mother. The woman I was now didn't. I had learned long ago that no one was coming to save me. I ripped the receipts into pieces and let them scatter to the floor. From now on, your life or death has nothing to do with me. Less than 30 minutes after she left, my phone rang again. The name Father flashed across the screen. My stomach twisted. Honey, he began, his tone falsely affectionate. Your brother's getting married, but we're short about $800,000 for the bride price. A sharp laugh escaped me.
What?
Your golden boy can't even afford to marry? What kind of attitude is that? He barked. Curtis Thorne is rich. $800,000 is nothing to him. If your son can't manage the basics, maybe he doesn't deserve to carry the family name. If the bloodline ends here, maybe it's for the best. I hung up and blocked the number. The apartment fell silent, but inside me, 2 versions of myself were at war. The 20-year-old me, fierce and unbroken, and the 30-year-old Jenna, who had given up everything to please others. I had once fought tooth and nail to escape this life, to become someone strong and independent. And she, the older me, had thrown it all away for a man. Marriage hadn't been my rescue. It had been another cage, one even harder to escape. The next morning, I went straight to Curtis's office. Ava, his executive assistant, acted as though she owned the place. Miss Chase, Mr. Thorne isn't in right now. I ignored her and strode toward his office. She hurried after me in her stilettos, trying to block my path. He really isn't. She reached for my arm. I sidestepped easily. Miss Chase. Her voice cracked, eyes watering. About last night, I need you to understand. I know you dislike me, but Mr. Thorne and I are just colleagues. I was sick, running a 102-degree fever. Bravo, I said, pulling out my phone and starting to record. Keep going. I'll post it for everyone to see. Ava's expression shifted instantly. She lunged at my phone, but I stepped back. In her fluster, she tripped, crashing to the floor in a dramatic heap. Even sprawled, she managed to pull her skirt askew. Oscar-worthy. Jenna. Curtis's voice thundered from the end of the hall. He stormed over, helped Ava to her feet, then turned his glare on me. What did you do to her? Before I could reply, he shoved me into the wall. My back slammed against the sharp edge of a fire extinguisher cabinet. Pain shot through me. His grip on my wrist was like iron. You made a scene in the group chat last night, and now you come here to harass people? Mr. Thorne, don't. Ava sobbed, tugging at his sleeve. Jenna didn't mean to. Apologize. Now, he snarled.
Slap.
I struck him across the face. Curtis froze in disbelief. Ava's mouth fell open. I nodded toward the security camera overhead. Still want me to apologize? Ava paled. It was just a misunderstanding. Please don't let this turn into a fight. Curtis's fury was tangible, but I understood something then. Even if he reviewed the footage, he would twist it to blame me. I didn't want to argue. I just wanted this to end. Inside his office, I was about to speak when he cut me off, voice still tense. Before we talk, explain the messages in the group chat last night. Fine. I pulled out my phone and sent another set of photos to the executive group chat, a timeline of him and Ava entering and leaving a hotel, perfectly matching his supposed business trips. Curtis paled. You were following me? Do I need to? I glanced at Ava, a small smile playing on my lips. Your assistant conveniently sends me your schedule every month. He shot to his feet. It's not what it looks like between Ava and me. Then what is it? I met his gaze squarely. A father-daughter relationship? The room fell silent. Only the lawyer coughed awkwardly, reminding Curtis they weren't alone. He loosened his tie, voice softening. Jenna, let's discuss this in private. He had never truly wanted a divorce. Discuss what? I leaned back. About why you only chase 20-year-old girls? I gestured at Ava's blunt bangs, the beauty mark near her eye. Because she looks like the young me, but isn't me? Curtis's pupils contracted. Ava froze. I laughed. You really know how to play games. I'm still here, yet you're busy with a stand-in for the love you lost. Panic flashed in his eyes. No, Jenna, it's not like that. Let me explain. I stood, towering over him, giving no room for excuses. You don't love me. You loved the 20-year-old Jenna. And that version of me was never truly yours. The 30-year-old Jenna? You can't love her. So just let go. He had adored the bright, rebellious, untamable version of me, but she was never his to claim. He didn't deserve her. Take a look at the divorce agreement. I pushed the document toward him. If you have no objections, sign it. Ava's eyes widened, a glimmer of hope in her expression. Curtis, however, panicked. He had assumed my threats were empty, a bluff. He never imagined I was serious. In front of everyone, Curtis couldn't bring himself to beg. Panic twisted into anger, his words sharp and condescending. Jenna, what do you think you'll do after the divorce? You don't even have a job. At 30, you'll have nothing. I don't care, I said, my voice icy. The 20-year-old me had nothing either. Back then, all I had were my dreams and myself, and that never included him. My core hadn't changed. I was still fearless. Curtis's frustration boiled over. I will not sign these papers. Forget the idea. The untamed Jenna was intoxicating, but impossible to control. And he had never wanted a divorce in the first place. Ava, still trying to mediate, stepped forward. Jenna, you've misunderstood. Curtis and I aren't involved. Please, don't throw away your marriage over a misunderstanding. I turned to her, voice sharp. Ava, aren't you tired of living in someone else's shadow at 20? Her face drained of color. Enough, Curtis roared, ripping the divorce papers in half. I will not let this happen. I watched the fragments drift to the floor unmoved. Then I'll take this to court myself. You wouldn't dare, he hissed. I ignored him, walking away. The rest was up to my lawyer. A crash sounded behind me, the shattering of glass, but I didn't look back. Inside the office, only Curtis and Ava remained. She stepped forward, wrapping her arms around him from behind. Curtis, calm down. Jenna's serious about the divorce, and you don't even love her anymore. Let her go. You'll still have me. He yanked her hands away so violently she stumbled back. Curtis. Ava's voice trembled. He had actually pushed her. He scanned her face, the bangs, the beauty mark, the curve of her smile, everything calculated to mimic me. It wasn't that he didn't understand. He had just lost himself in the memory of the 20-year-old Jenna, wild and dazzling, irresistible. We're done, he said coldly. Ava's face went pale. What? From now on, stay out of my and Jenna's lives, he said, eyes hard. Are you insane? Ava screamed. She doesn't even want you. Curtis advanced slowly, pressing her back to the window. Shut up. You have no right to speak about her. First, the 20-year-old Jenna will always be more than you could ever be. Second, he laughed coldly. Your brother didn't die for me. Her pupils constricted. You knew? I know more than you think. Curtis pressed the intercom. Security, escort Ms. Vance out and revoke her access immediately. She lunged at him hysterically. You promised you'd take care of me. You would have died without my brother. Curtis's grip tightened. Your brother drowned drunk in the river. That night I was passed out. He didn't save me. Ava collapsed, drained and broken. The lie she had lived for years was exposed in an instant. Why now? She whispered. Curtis gazed out the window toward me. His voice softened, almost inaudible. Because today reminded me how much the young Curtis loved Jenna. Loved her enough to be ruthless, to be despicable. The 20-year-old Jenna had been a wild rose, beautiful, dangerous, untamable. And now she was back. After Curtis left, Ava laughed quietly to herself. The 30-year-old Curtis still loved the 20-year-old Jenna, but the 30-year-old Jenna had no love left for him. And he was no longer the man she once knew. My lawyer filed the lawsuit. I reapplied to study abroad. But progress was slow. The next day, all my bank cards were frozen. Curtis sent a message. Think it through. Come back, and we'll pretend none of this happened. He really thought that would stop me? Laughable. The 5-year-old Jenna had survived on scraps from the trash. She didn't scare easily. Now, I had plenty of ways to survive. While Curtis was away, I sold everything I could in the villa, Hermes bags, jewelry, even his prized wine collection. Each item went for a fraction of its value. I sat on a suitcase, eating a sandwich, as buyers came to pick up their purchases. Ma'am, the housekeeper said hesitantly. Call me Miss Chase, I replied, wiping my mouth. And help me sell that painting in the bedroom. The painting Curtis had bought for $3 million was now my tuition deposit. A symbolic reset for the 30-year-old me. With the money, I began my new life. When Curtis returned to an empty house, fury overtook him. Jenna, without me, you are nothing. Let's see how long your stubbornness lasts. You will regret this. 10 years had passed, my body older, but my 20-year-old spirit was intact. I resumed my studies, despite Curtis's interference. He sabotaged every opportunity. I'm sorry, Miss Chase. You're not suitable for this position. I'm sorry, Miss Chase. I bought a train ticket without argument and moved to a new city. A light rain fell as I stepped out of the station into an unfamiliar coastal town. I rented a small, 10-square-meter room in a worn-down neighborhood. The walls peeled, but the light was perfect. I bought a second-hand camera with the money from the painting and began wedding photography gigs. I woke at 5 each morning, rode 2 hours to a suburban flower market to shoot, and edited photos late into the night over instant noodles. I lost 8 pounds in the first month. It was grueling, but it was mine. Much better than my childhood. Miss Chase, here's your deposit. The owner of a wedding company handed me a thin envelope, hesitant. The Thorne Group just acquired our parent company. I counted it. Only a third of the agreed amount. But it didn't matter. Things would improve. The following month, I was photographing seafood at the docks when a familiar face suddenly appeared in my lens. My mother appeared at the docks, shivering in her most expensive mink coat, her face pale in the damp December air. Jenna, she said, lips blue from the cold, your sister is in the hospital. She needs money for surgery. She never asked about me. Never cared. Always assumed the world owed her something. I didn't even look up from my camera. Last time, I said, adjusting the camera's aperture, you said you fell and needed money. The time before, the house was on fire. Got a new excuse for me this time. She dropped to her knees on the slippery dock, wailing loudly, drawing the attention of the fishermen around us. Jenna, I'm your mother. How can you treat me like this? I raised you. Is this how you repay me? I kept photographing, my hands steady. Her voice grew hoarse, and eventually, she pulled herself upright. You foolish girl. I'm doing this for your own good. The Thorne family is rich. You married wealth, and instead of pleasing him, you're living like this. Are you happy? She grabbed at my jeans. Curtis says if you go back, everything could be normal. Stop being so stubborn. I pried her fishy fingers off me. Can it go back to when I was 20? She froze. I knew the answer. No, it couldn't. Forward was the only way. You're pathetic. 30 years old, and you threw away a rich man's life. Without Curtis, you are nothing. No, I said firmly. Without Curtis, I am Jenna Chase. Independent. Strong.
Free.
My mother didn't understand. I had lost patience. Mom, do you remember when I was 5 and had a 104-degree fever? What did you say? I raised my camera, capturing the panic etched on her face. If she's not dying, don't waste the money.
Her pleas meant nothing.
Just as they had meant nothing for my sister. You heartless girl. You'll regret this, she screamed, storming away, powerless against me. Curtis tried next. Late at night, I heard fumbling at the lock. You ungrateful girl. I raised you for nothing. Go back now. I drew the fruit knife I kept under my pillow. One more step, and we die together. He cursed and retreated. He valued his life more than mine. Curtis Thorne, I would never bow. Eventually, my parents stopped trying. I moved repeatedly to avoid them. 5 months later, the court ruled in my favor. That same day, the acceptance letter from the Paris College of Art arrived. Curtis waited outside the courthouse, clutching the finalized divorce papers. His once perfect suit was rumpled, dark circles under his eyes. He looked defeated, exposed. He didn't understand. He hadn't cheated. He had apologized. Why wouldn't I return? A 30-year-old woman would understand practicality, the need for money. He believed everyone should learn that lesson. Jenna, why? His voice was hoarse, almost broken. I sent Ava abroad. She won't bother you again. I can transfer company shares to you. Everything can start over. I bent down to retrieve my acceptance letter from the Paris College of Art that had slipped from my bag. When I was 5, I said, holding it up, I found a torn picture book in a dumpster. That was the first time I saw beauty in the world. But you clipped my wings, stripped away my dignity. You didn't like that, Jenna, and neither did I. Curtis's hand froze midair, reaching for me. I can send you to Paris. I can buy you an apartment. What do you want? I want freedom. I want the Jenna who can thrive in the wind, who dares to chase everything she wants. The Jenna I am now. I removed his fingers from my wrist, one by one. My parents had abandoned me. My siblings didn't love me. My marriage was hollow. I had learned to fight alone, and no one would stand in my way. Curtis staggered back, struck as if physically. Words caught in his throat. I turned and walked to a waiting taxi, unhesitant. Outside the window, the city blurred past. In the rearview mirror, the 30-year-old me had fine lines, but her eyes burned brighter than they had at 20. 6 months later, in Paris, I read the news on my phone. Thorne Group faces financial collapse. Curtis Thorne's whereabouts unknown. He would never know. The 20-year-old Jenna had not only survived and rebuilt her life, she had ensured that those who wronged her would face the consequences, without ever bowing to them. 5 years later, backstage at Paris Fashion Week, cameras flashed and microphones crowded around me. Reporters bombarded me with questions. Miss Chase, what inspired the main theme of this collection? We hear you're planning to return to your home country. I smoothed the hand-embroidered wild grass design on my gown. Wild grass, I said. It may be trampled, scorched, and battered, but it always rises again, stubborn against the wind. Far away, Curtis Thorne, now a taxi driver, watched the broadcast, his hands clenched on the steering wheel. The 35-year-old Jenna had emerged from the ashes, radiant and unstoppable. He was, finally, unworthy. During the finale, a short film played across the giant screen, revealing the inspirations behind my collection. The last frame was a photograph taken by the 20-year-old Jenna, wild grass bending under a storm, resilient and upright, facing the sky. The applause rolled like thunder. I looked at the empty front row seat where the 20-year-old me should have sat. But it didn't matter. The 35-year-old Jenna had become everything I had ever wanted to be. The 10 years lost to compromise and heartbreak had been reclaimed. As the lights brightened, I raised a glass to that empty space. To the 5-year-old Jenna who survived the dumpsters. To the 20-year-old Jenna, fierce and unbowed. And to the 35-year-old Jenna, reborn stronger, wiser, unstoppable. No blaze can burn it all. No storm can hold it down. Spring always returns, and so does strength. The only person who can ever save you is yourself.